For Ukraine, I think also West, EU, NATO, and other partners are doing a lot, supporting Ukraine to win this war. So that if we can help Ukraine to win this war, I think everybody benefits. It means we don't need to win any other wars that Russia might start.
To a story we've been discussing on the programme as we continue to bring the latest on the conflict in Ukraine. Russia has warned that if Finland and Sweden join NATO, then Russia is going to take measures in the Baltic. Estonia has demanded that NATO double the number of its troops stationed there. Let's speak now to the Estonian ambassador to the UK, Viljar Lubi. Viljar, thank you so much for joining me. How concerned are you by Russia's warnings that they're going to bolster their defences in the region? I mean, the defences in the region are pretty bolstered already, aren't they?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Yes, I have to say exactly the same, that there is nothing new. I think the situation hasn't, let's say, changed much. Russia is still threatening its neighbors. That's why I think, they just receive what they don't expect. But, I think all the neighbors, including our northern and western neighbor, Finland and Sweden, they behaving rationally. If your neighbor is threatening you, you do your utmost to secure your, let's say, borders as well. And, joining alliances is one of the options.
And how seriously do you take these threats of deploying nuclear weapons, or the idea that there would be an escalation in the presence of nuclear weapons in the region? We already had a nuclear expert on earlier in the programme who suggested that those weapons are already there, though, uncertified, unconfirmed.
Exactly. The situation is that nothing changes. The situation is the same. The nuclear weapons are already in our neighborhood, already close to our borders, so that these kind of threats are futile in this respect. Exactly the opposite. They even force countries like ours, like Estonia, more to NATO. And to do more, you have more NATO troops in Estonia and elsewhere. So I don't know why you need to threat like that.
The president of Estonia has been in Ukraine and met with President Zelensky there. And our reporter in Ukraine told us that for countries in the Baltics, it's absolutely imperative that Ukraine holds. I mean, I suppose it's a fairly obvious assumption. But, do you feel that you're next on the list to some extent?
We don't feel that. But the thing is that I think it's still important to remember that we are already beyond just threats, because Russia is invading Ukraine. So it doesn't threaten Ukraine to invade, that they will be invade Ukraine. It has invaded, so that we are already at war, and we do our utmost to help also our Ukrainian friends. In Estonia, we have for decades prepared for this kind of possibility. That's why we have increased tremendously our defense budget. We are prepared. We know that defense starts from home. The same with Finland, for example, who has been for 80 years next to Russia and being ready to defend its borders. We do the same. Just, we understand that we have to act collectively. That's why NATO is for. We defend our territories collectively and together with British and other partners.
But is NATO, Viljar, a deterrent? Because it seems that the suggestion of Finland and Sweden joining has just provoked Russia still further.
I don't think so. This is complete rubbish, if I may say so. And, is NATO a deterrent? Yes. I think, the same news that, if Finland and Sweden join NATO, and then, Russians got anxious. Finland has been, our northern neighbor has been, without being a member of any defense alliance for 80 years. Now, after Ukraine was, invaded, or the war is going on in Ukraine, Finland thought something needs to change. The status quo cannot continue. And they are discussing if they should join NATO. So it means the Finns, the public support to join NATO has increased tremendously over the couple of months now. And they believe that being inside NATO makes a security situation better than being outside NATO. So Estonia is already a NATO member. So it seems that we feel more secure than our Finnish brothers.
And do you feel that NATO is doing enough at the moment? How likely is it that they're going to meet your demands, or should I say request for more troops on the ground?
I think that NATO is doing a very good job, and the NATO is, we have ongoing discussions. We have upcoming Madrid summit that we definitely expect very important decisions will be made there as well. So we have been planned for that. Of course, situation has changed. NATO needs to do more, and NATO will do more. So that we are very, very optimistic, and everybody, I think, the unity that the West has shown is tremendous. So I don't believe that we're going to see a split and NATO will be united.
Do you think that in that way, Putin's plan has backfired because we've seen a greater unity with NATO than we've seen in quite a long time?
Of course, it has backfired. The thing is that there is no absolute logic. It's no rationale. I always ask the same question. Even I understand the imperial ambition of leaders like Putin. What the people of power want, more power. But the question is, what average Russian has to gain from this kind of, let's say, outreach and invading your neighbors? They are losing out economically. They will be poor eventually, not richer. So the logic is not there, and I think they already have lost this, let's say, war, if not the battle.
If the logic isn't there, just finally, what do you think will stop Putin?
We have had, let's say, the long time, the belief that you have to be prepared. It doesn't mean that you cannot have a good neighborly relations. Of course, we would like to have, but we always have emphasized that you need to be ready to defend your country, to defend your borders, so that we will be extremely, extremely clear about that. We will be ready and don't even try to test our borders.
But as I just asked you, what do you think will stop President Putin? If it's not based on rational goals, his behavior at the moment, what will stop him? Will NATO stop him? Is it, is there a method to his madness? I mean, what's your thought?
Yes. Okay. I was just thinking, if you ask, if Putin will go beyond Ukraine. No, I don't think he should or he can. That's why we also, as I said, NATO will be ready for that. So NATO territory, I don't think so. For Ukraine, I think also West, EU, NATO, and other partners are doing a lot, supporting Ukraine to win this war. So that if we can help Ukraine to win this war, I think everybody benefits. It means we don't need to win any other wars that Russia might start.
Viljar Lubi, Estonian ambassador to the UK, thank you very, very much for joining me today. That was Viljar Lubi, the Estonian ambassador. Now, in